Welcome back, loyal fight fans, to boxing. Eat that shit up. And we're doing our special episode as promised from the when I talked about it in the last video. This is going to be a little special episode, a little short one about a round for round breakdown on a really good boxing event that had happened that's kind of somewhat controversial. This is about the Sergey Lipinets versus Clayton fight. And I had watched the fight when I talked about it on my last video about doing this breakdown, because I watched the fight, and from my first impression of the fight, I thought, how could you make this a draw? Because Clayton won that fight. And that's where I stood on it. But this is also why, again, I'm just gonna give real honest opinion. So I'm even kind of backtracking on what I'd said here to do this. But I'm not just gonna stand by something for the fact that I said it. Sometimes we're wrong. This video is important to do because regardless of myself, I was a part of this whole controversy of this fight, but it's still a very controversial fight and people talking about it and the way it was scored. But when I went back, watched it again, and did my round for round scoring, I will say this. I still score the fight for Clayton. But that being said, originally when I watched this fight, it seemed to me that there was no way that this could be a draw. Just no way at all. So it not as if, it's a close fight, but that I didn't see how, off of my first impression, I couldn't understand how it could have been a draw. But this is why you rewatch fights, right? This is the rewatch value of fights too. Go and check this fight out, man. Sergey Lipinets was 16-1 coming into this. I forget the opponent. I had mentioned it on another video because they actually mentioned this fight was supposed to happen and then did not, because the other opponent that Lipinets was supposed to fight had actually fallen out. So Clayton took this fight on a 10-day notice. That's big. Even in like MMA, they would talk about something like this. A 10-day notice is very short. In boxing, that's incredible. That's a big risk, especially against an absolute slugger like Lipinets. When you're fighting a guy like that, and you have just basically, 10 days is pretty much saying that what you're saying by taking a 10-day notice is that, I'm in shape enough to make the weight, so that shouldn't be an issue. But we'll work it real hard and make sure we make the weight. But that's about all you're saying, because 10 days is no time at all to really prepare for an opponent. Especially a difficult opponent, a real challenge to your career like Sergey Lipinets. But yeah, I went back and scored this round by round, and I'm gonna do a little backtracking here on what I had said, because I still have Clayton winning the fight, but when I do the round by round breakdown, and I'm not going out of my way here, to try and reach, that draw conclusion, I still think that, Clayton won the fight. But originally, I scored Clayton, I believe, winning 8 of those rounds. And I have to tell you, scoring really round by round, a second time around, when the first time was mostly for enjoyment, is what a lot of people need to do here. Because though I think Clayton won the fight, on my second go-around in scoring this round by round, it was a lot closer than I originally came to the conclusion, where how could you get this outrageous scorecard? To be honest, when I score it now, I score Clayton not at 8 rounds, but at 7 rounds. So that's just winning the fight. If you take, you do the math here. If you take one of those rounds away from him, then it's a draw. And that is where I'm at. I'm at that he won by 1 round. But also, I think it is up for debate. Because when I look for, like we've talked about here before, when I look for those, controversial rounds, when I look for those rounds that are actually in the fight that are actually not easy to score, there are several of them. If you remember, we talked about this for the Lomachenko-Lopez fight, how there was 2 really big ones. One was the 2nd round, and one was the 7th round, I believe, for that fight. Well, this fight has more. This fight has at least 3 rounds that really are kind of up for, or not, I was going to say 3 rounds, but at least 2 rounds that are definitely up for debate. So more than 1, to at least 2, and possibly even 3 rounds that are up for debate really here. So let's jump right into it. Round 1. It's a good fun fight too, by the way. This is a really great fight. Round 1 starts off right away, action-packed. They're both trying to throw hands at each other. Clayton has moments, but I mean, this is the beginning of this fight still, and this was the impression I had originally, and it still is that the very beginning rounds of this fight are Lipinets all day, So it's a good start. There's lots of action, lots of output straight out the gate. Lipinets is controlling the ring better, though. That's the key part. He's going to the body with the jab, and because he's jabbing to Clayton. He's jabbing him at his head, so it covers his head. Then he mixes it up because he's not just jabbing, then throwing in a hook. Which you can see is jabbing. So the way that this looks, and it's coming at your face, is not too different from how it looks. Just ends up going down to your body. So that's a very good entering the pocket punch, and Sergey mixes that up well in the first round. And he starts going to the body right away there. Second round, this is Lipinets all day. He's mixing it up, head to body. He's got a lot of control of the ring. It's a very visual thing when you watch a boxer who's not a technician, not a fantastic boxer, but a brawler and a tough guy. There's a lot of them in boxing. Sergey Lipinets is one of them. It's hard to, who's another one is Sean Porter. It's hard to score rounds against these guys a lot of times, even if their opponent is catching them cleaner, doing that. You really kind of need to look closer at the fight, because when you have a brawler, you're just seeing this guy, whether he's paying for it or not, or getting tagged or not, you're seeing this guy control the ring and always put the pressure on the other guy. You're seeing this guy chase the other guy all around the ring. So it's hard sometimes to pay attention to that kind of stuff. But yeah, first, second round, this is definitely Lipinets. Third round, 100% Lipinets. This is a very dominant round from him. He puts Clayton against the ropes at one point. He corners him. He starts punching to the body with big hooks now. Really putting in body work. As this fight, it's like the first round he uses his jab to the head, Lipinets does. And then second round, slightly, but he's going harder the body. Third round, he's all about the body. And really, for the majority of this fight, man, he doesn't really mix it back up too well with too many head attacks. Every now and again, he'll throw an overhand, at Clayton. But that's about it. Other than that, he's literally just dipping his head down, going to the body, and he ends up getting caught a few times with good uppercuts from Clayton while he's coming in on him. But that third round is Lipinets all day. Fourth round, this is a closer round. So this is the first round that I marked down here. That, this is a closer round, and I believe that my first time around, this was probably one of the rounds that, because this is the beginning of the fight, I left with the impression that, Lipinets was controlling everything. But really, this is a close round you could give to Lipinets. But I do give it still to Clayton. But I marked this fourth round down because this is one of those controversial rounds, okay? This is a round that, you could have given to Lipinets, especially off of the eye test. Again, with him being the aggressor all the time, with him winning those first 3 rounds, and he doesn't slow down in trying in this fourth round, and he lands some good shots of his own. So it's possible that you could give this to Lipinets. I still have to give it to Clayton. I think Clayton has a lot better of a round here. Lipinets doing his bullying thing, but it's a lot closer. Clayton comes back at the end towards the end of the round. So basically, the second half of the round is basically Clayton's, and that's just up for debate. But I give that to him. So we got 3 rounds to 1 so far. Then the 5th round, I give this to Clayton because of the cleaner lands that he's getting, and he's blocking a lot more of Lipinets' shots now. Again, with the eye test, this is very important in watching any fights, in boxing, but especially this talking about this fight. I think this is what I can offer to people who are very much like, how do you do a draw? It's because of the eye test. I'm not saying that you're not right, because I agree with you that Clayton won that fight, but my thing to convey here is that this was not a robbery, right? This was a close fight. And on my second go around, I'm a hell of a lot closer to that, draw card. I'm 1 round there. If you take 1 round away from Clayton, it gets to that draw. Yeah, so the 5th round, this is Clayton because of cleaner lands. He's blocking more Lipinets' shots, but Lipinets still controlling, pressuring, and that's the eye test factor. That's what you're seeing this guy chase Clayton around the ring, honestly, still. And this is in the 5th round, so you've seen that in every round, whether he's won or lost them. So that's a big part of, I believe, how this might have gotten a little mixed up, or how this is up for debate. The 6th round, Clayton starts real strong here, but Lipinets comes back, and he ends up cornering Clayton not once but twice, not just against the ropes, but literally cornering him in the corner of the ring, and landing real hard, aggressive body shots yet again. So I definitely, I definitely have to give this round to Lipinets. You absolutely have to, I think. But, I did mark this one as that, again, Clayton does really well in the first half of the round. And then the second half of the round is Lipinets. And putting him in the corner like that, he's got the harder shots. I give it to Lipinets there. But that might be one that you gave to Clayton. So that's the other round that I got here. So that was round 4, and round 6 is a real one to watch for, as a kind of a focal point for, if you take 1 round away, then you end up with the draw there. Round 7, I give this to Lipinets. Clayton definitely had some moments here with his jab, but he's not quite going yet. And then round 8, this is Clayton. He's coming on strong. Round 8 is specifically where you start to see Lipinets fade, because he has been pressuring the whole time. He has been throwing very hard shots with bad intentions on them every time that he throws a punch still. And now we're in the 8th round, So he's starting to get tired here. This is literally, undebatably, this is the round when you significantly all of a sudden see him being a lot slower, though he's still trying. He's still trying to be the bully. He is being the aggressor, but his punches are so much slower. And so this is a real big turning point. So I give that round to Clayton. Round 9, this is Clayton all day. He starts to pick up the pace. He's really picking apart Lipinets at this point. he's dominant in this round. This is when Lipinets has started to slow down enough with the crazy shots he's throwing that when he's pressuring and when he goes to start throwing shots, Clayton is now, bop, bop, with the jab straight, and combinations like that quick, up the middle combinations that are catching Lipinets because he's a lot slowed down at this point. So that's a real dominant round is 8 and 9 really for Clayton. Round 10. This is Clayton. He's having a lot of success with his jab while Lipinets is on his way in. And then like what I was talking about, his jab and jab straight, while Lipinets is on his way in. He was doing that before, kind of in the 8th round. Now we're in the 9th round. Now here in this 10th round, there's a big shift because he's still continuing to do this and winning rounds. But now, while he's catching Lipinets on his way in with the jabs and straights, once Lipinets gets in, he used to be able to, at least he was paying for it, but then he used to be able to land his own punches. Now, here in round 10, he's faded. And it's not just getting caught on the way in, but now we're at a turning point where when he gets in, after getting caught with the jab straight combination, and he's in the pocket real close and he goes to throw his punches, now Clayton is actually able to follow up quicker and he's going to the body of Lipinets. And basically he's let Lipinets punch himself out a lot. Another thing about this, again, the eye test, So if you are someone who said, how could you score this against Clayton, which is the big kind of controversy here, it's the eye test. I'm not saying you're wrong. I kind of agree with you here. I agree with you because I scored the fight for Clayton. But it's do the eye test. So when people are watching it, we already know about judges. I don't feel like I have to explain how judges are not these experts you think they are. They're literally, you're just as good. If you're a fight fan and you've watched fights for a long time, you're just as good. So watch the fight, though, and realize that there's the whole fight, whether Lipinets is paying for it or not, he's having ring control. He's being the aggressor. This is, if somebody's not paying super close attention to the cleaner shots landed and exactly all of Lipinets' shots, because he's just so wild sometimes in there, that you see him throwing these big bombs, overhand right, hooks to the body. But really, in a lot of these combinations are not landing. Especially in these later rounds, they're not landing anymore on Clayton because he's blocking them or he's able to get out of the way of them. Clayton even is able to start getting out of the way of the body hooks eventually because, he's still fresh. But yeah, he's having a lot of success with that. That's the Clayton all day in the 10th round. 11th round, Clayton, still Clayton doing good on the counters. Clean punches, but Lipinets really tries to turn it on here. He really tries to turn it back on here. Makes this 11th round a close round. I did put that down as a question mark. I still give that round to Clayton. But again, that's another one. So you got the 4th round to watch, especially the 6th round to watch. And then somewhat, to some degree, you have this 11th round, somewhat too, because they both have moments there, that Lipinets really tries to just put everything he has back in, and he gets a little bit faster. He just kind of, dumps all his adrenaline back in there to win this 11th round, but I don't give that to him. I give that to Clayton, though it's close. And then the 12th round, this is Clayton all day, undebatable, and he finishes strong. So, overall recap is basically, I scored the fight round 4 for Clayton, round 5 for Clayton, round 8, round 9, round 10, round 11, and round 12. So I scored the fight 7 rounds to 5. But as I said, there is a lot of rounds in here that are up for debate. And also, remember about the eye test. What are you seeing? If you're good at watching fights, it's almost kind of like dumb yourself down just a little bit so you can get an understanding at least that, because this is the thing. This is what I'm saying to leave away from with the video. I was going to do a whole thing. I expected from my first watch of this fight, I thought, yeah, Lipinets came on strong, but, you know, Clayton picked up pretty early. You know, like I said, I give that 5th round to him, and then I wasn't really given much more rounds to Lipinets. But to be honest, on the second walkthrough here, I'm only scoring Clayton up, you know, by 7 rounds to 5. If you take, do the math there. Out of these controversial rounds, just any one of them, if you take one of them away from him, it makes it a draw. So I've given you how I scored the fight. I encourage you guys to go and watch this fight. It is a great fight, and it's somewhat of, you know, in talks right now about being controversial with the decision. I went back and watched this fight, man, and it is a lot closer than I thought that it was originally. Because sometimes you need to watch fights more than once, and sometimes you need to stick to round scoring. You know, this is if you're a Clayton fan as well. Remember how I'm talking about the eye test? The whole fight, Lipinets is pressuring him. Even when he slows down, he never stops being the aggressor. He is, every round of this fight, Lipinets is the one walking Clayton down. But he's just not having a lot of success other than these early rounds. But that's what I'm telling you, is that eye test. It's real important. It tricks people a lot because of what you're seeing. Simply what you're seeing, and the shots that Lipinets is throwing, maybe people are not realizing how many of these are, you know, being rolled with, are being blocked completely. And then, you know, just real dominance, no argument there about Clayton at the whole tail end of that fight. But yeah, I mean, I think here's another thing. Like I said, the 7th round I give to Lipinets. Maybe you guys didn't do that because maybe you guys thought that ever since round 5, you know, that Clayton won, that he'd been just picking up from there and going on. I don't agree with that. I think Lipinets had a couple in there. I gave him I gave him that 6th round. And, you know, he has a couple. Yeah, I think I even gave him, I give the 7th round to him as well, to Lipinets. So this fight is a lot closer, from my impression, than people are seeing it. I encourage you guys to go back and watch the fight. It was a great fight. Castile Clayton was 18-0. He retains that no loss. You know, it was a great fight to watch just for enjoyment. But especially if you guys are, you know, wondering about this controversy and stuff. Again, this is my going away impression. I think that Clayton won the fight. But originally, I thought it was more of a landslide. I thought, you know, he was up 8 rounds to 4. That wasn't really the case. Then I totally 100% went to 7 rounds to 5. And when I look for rounds that you could have given away, there's a few in there. So yeah, this has been Tummy Tom O'Neill on Boxing. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Please tell a friend. I love doing this content. We need some more viewers. We need some more interaction. You know, some more questions being left, things like that. All right, so you guys have a good day, and we'll see you next time here on Boxing. Eat that shit up.